Hey guys, it's Gsluke, bringing you guys a video on my top 3 fades and sleeper picks for this year's AT&T Byron Nelson tournament. These are going to be some of the guys that I think are a little bit overowned. That will be my fades for the week. And then some of the guys I think that are being a little bit overlooked, might be a little bit of diamonds in the rough per se. Those are going to be my sleepers for the week. So hopping right into it. Before we hop right into it, I want to mention I do have a full DFS preview up on my channel. I go through the field, a course breakdown, some of the key stats for this week, as well as my top 5 plays for DFS this week. The video link will be in the description, so if you want to check out the full preview, check it out there. Hopping into this quick fades video though. Coming in at number 3, we have Brandt Snedeker coming in at $7,400. Now, Brandt Snedeker has had a very good run of late, and that's why you see a lot of ownership garnering behind him. He's expected to be owned over 15% right now, which is a lot for somebody in that $7,000 range. And to me, I don't think it necessarily makes a lot of sense. You're looking at Snedeker gaining over 2 strokes per round on average with his putter, which is something he does from time to time. But Snedeker, like any very volatile player, does go on cold stretches. We've seen that from time to time. Last year, he missed 10 straight cuts. And for him to make 4 straight cuts, it's almost inevitable that he's going to miss one over the next few events. He plays at a very volatile level of aggression. He pretty much takes on every single pin. He plays without much caution at all. And for that reason, he hits big when he hits, and when he misses the cut quite drastically. The reason why I think this week doesn't set up well for him is he's a shorter hitter on average. He's getting up there in age as well. So he's not going to be able to take advantage off the tee as much as other players this week, especially given that the rough is a little bit less penal, the course is a little bit longer. I do think that's problematic for Snedeker. Something I also want to mention is that he probably only top 5s in this event about 6-7% of the time. I run simulations, that's what the numbers are telling me. So I don't really hate him as a play on paper, because that's still a good number in terms of optimal percentage. But for him to be owned upwards of 15% is just, quite frankly, too much. I'm going to be off him this week. I think players in his range of price, guys like EVR, Doc Redman, Sepp Straka, etc., are just much better plays. And coming in at number 2 for my fades is Siwo Kim, costing $8,800. Now, he's expected to be owned at about 16% ownership, which is really high for somebody like Siwo Kim, who again is extremely volatile. And that's really what I don't like about Siwo Kim. He's extremely volatile. He tends to play well on shorter tracks, more difficult tracks as well, where accuracy off the tee, getting really hot with your irons is how you make your hay. Unfortunately for Siwo Kim this week, at TPC Craig Ranch, I don't see that being the case. It's a longer than average par 72. A lot of your scoring is done on par 5s, some of the shorter par 4s, and Siwo Kim just isn't that type of golfer. He's played well on courses like this. He hasn't gone on a win on one on a course like this though. And at $8,800, he's approaching that range of golfers where you kind of expect them to win if you're playing them. He definitely has high upside. We know that with Siwo Kim, but his floor is really low. And given that the course isn't the best fit for Siwo Kim, I don't think it's really worth taking shots on him this week. It's just not the right spot to be playing Siwo Kim. I'd much rather play him at a memorial type tournament where your accuracy is what you're looking for. And here I think the Bombers are going to have a little bit more success. At just $300 more, I'd much rather go to someone like Ryan Palmer, who has a much higher floor than Siwo Kim, but also has a lot of a high upside when it comes to birdies. For even just $200 more, you could go to Sergio as well. Sergio is great off the tee. He has that length, but he's also somebody that can get insanely hot with their irons. So I just think there's better fits just for a little bit more money, and I'd rather go there. And my number 1 fade this week is going to be Matt Fitzpatrick, coming in at a very hefty price tag of $9,500 and an expected ownership right now around 25%, but I've seen it around 30-35% depending on where you're looking. And Matt is going to be extremely polarizing this week. A lot of people love him. A lot of people are touting him to win this week. If you look at the stats, he's absolutely been on a tear this year. I cannot take that away from him. It's been by far the best season of his career. But again, just like Siwo Kim, he tends to excel at harder, shorter golf courses. With Matt Fitzpatrick, a lot of that is due to a lack of length. Fitzpatrick is not long off the tee. He's been gaining over 0.7 strokes per round this year off the tee, but that's not due to distance. He's been deadly accurate. He's not missing many fairways at all. He's actually made a few swing changes to straighten out a lot of his shots, but as a result, he's lost length. So at a course like this that's going to be prioritizing length, there's going to be a lot of long par fours. I don't think that Matt Fitzpatrick fits the course like a glove. And when you're seeing 35% ownership, that's essentially you're picking them to win. That is very hard to get over the field on at a comfortable level, and it's extremely easy to go under the field on. I'll be one of the people that goes under the field on him. Again, I just don't see it being a great fit. He also he has this sentiment behind him that he's a great putter on bent grass. People call him a bent grass specialist, and that's just simply not the case. He averages 0.6 strokes per gained per round for his whole career in terms of putting, so 0.6. On bent grass, he only gains 0.45 strokes per round. So it's 0.15 less strokes per round on bent grass. But if you look at Bermuda, he gains 0.8 strokes per round. He's much better at Bermuda. I don't know why we don't consider him a Bermuda specialist. I just think it's a case of a misled narrative, I would say. So, and if you look at his last few performances on bent, the eye test also backs this up. He had a very middling performance at the Masters. It's actually one of the only events where he's lost strokes putting in multiple rounds. So, I think that he's a good play most weeks, but this week at super high ownership, he's definitely a fade for me. I'd much rather play someone like Willie Zalatoris or even Scotty Scheffler for just a little bit more. Now, let's hop into some of my sleepers, some of the guys being overlooked this week. Coming in at number 3, we have Russell Knox at a price tag of $7,700 and expected ownership of about 4%. He's coming in with really good form. He has an 18th place finish at the Wells Fargo, also a 21st place finish at the Valspar. Two courses that don't play the same, they played much different. And you really like to see somebody's game translating from course to course and different type of course from different type of course. So he's also gained in tee to green in every single round of those events. There's only been a few rounds where he lost strokes putting, so he's been very good across the board. My one critique with Russell Knox would be his length. He's one of the shorter players on tour. He tends to score well on his par 5s, though, which is a little bit surprising. What that tells me is that he's extremely accurate with his long irons, and if we take a look at his long par 4 scoring, that shakes out as well. So he's going to be able to carry over that hot iron form. It's the most repeatable statistic from week to week. So I really like his floor this week. The field is extremely weak. There's not many guys out there, especially in that $7,000, $6,000 range, that you can have a lot of confidence in this week to make a cut. But Russell Knox checks all the boxes that you're looking for this week. And I think he's a really good pivot off people like Ricky Fowler, Charles Howell III, that don't profile as well for the course. A lot of their ownership is because people like them, just like them as people, like them as golfers. And I'd much rather play the guy who's actually good at golf. So that's why he's at number 3. My second sleeper pick is Will Gordon, coming in at $6,800. He's expected to be owned at about 1% ownership, and he's somebody that I did a deep dive on in my DFS preview just yesterday. So I'm not going to do a full-blown detailed overview of him because I already did that in my other video, but he is gaining 0.42 strokes off the tee, a lot of that due to his elite distance. He's number 4 in the field in terms of driving distance. We've also seen a lot of ceiling performances from Will Gordon in the past. He's had a few best rounds of the day in the last month, a couple ties for that. He shot 6, 7 under over the past month, and that's really what you're looking for in a GPP. You're looking for that high upside, really just a player to put it all together for all 4 days and to give you that ceiling performance I mentioned. 1% ownership, it's extremely easy to get leverage on Will Gordon. You just plug him into a few lineups and you're good to go. And nobody in this range has the off-the-tee game that Will Gordon has. There's a few golfers like Ryan Brehm that are extremely long off the tee, but none of them also combine the accuracy that Will Gordon has with that length. So overall, he's just the best off the tee player in the range. I think it's worth taking a shot on a guy like this, where if he puts those irons together for even just 2-3 rounds this weekend, he sees himself through the weekend and potentially into contention. And that's why he comes in at number 2. And lastly, my number 1 sleeper, The guy that's going to win you all the dollars this week is Tyler Duncan, coming in at $6,600. Get a lot of savings with that kind of price tag, but you also get expected ownership, less than 0.5%. Essentially, nobody is owning this guy, but to be honest with you, he's been one of the more consistent players in the tournament, not just in the $6,000 range. He's made the cut in 4 of his last 6 events. He's also made the cut in every single trip over his career, to the Valero Texas Open, to this event when it was at its other venue, which seems to indicate that he thrives in windy conditions. He grew up in Texas as well, so that's not surprising to me. He's not the longest hitter by any means. He's definitely one of the shorter hitters on tour, but he gains strokes off the tee with his accuracy. He's somebody that also plays well on approach. He's gaining 0.41 strokes per round on approach over his last 30 rounds, which is definitely well above average. And it's even easier to get over on him in this field, considering you could put him in one lineup and be over the field. But he's very consistent in a field this week. He has a very high chance of making the cut. And at $6,600, that would be more than enough to pay it off. But with Duncan, you're also getting some upside. We've seen him win before, and windy conditions, he's put up 3 top 5s in his last 2 years. Again, windy conditions would be average wind speeds over 15 miles an hour for an event. And for that reason, I really like Tyler Duncan as a high potential sleeper pick this week. So thanks for watching, guys. That's all I got. Let me know who your favorite sleeper pick is in the comments. Also, let me know who your biggest fade is. I've seen some people fading Jon Rahm this week after his bad performance. I will just warn you, the last time he missed a cut was right before the Memorial, and then he went out and blew the field away. So don't fall into that trap, but let me know who you're fading. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.